we're going to get to some of the stuff that everybody wants to hear about. And that is the insanity that is the transfer portal. My goodness gracious, we have got some serious moving and comings and goings here, but we don't know. We all know all the goings. Nobody knows the comings. Nobody knows where anybody's going really yet. I mean, there's a handful. We did just figure out today, within the last few hours, actually, that Brock Vandagriff is headed to Kentucky. So if you don't know who Brock Vandagriff is, he was a 4-star from Athens, Georgia. He went to a private school there in Athens. He was the 37th ranked player in the 21 class, kind of a dual threat quarterback that was backing up Carson Beck at UGA this year. He decided to go in a couple days ago and has found his home in Kentucky. What do you think about this? And what do you think about the transfer portal craziness that's going on these days?
Ooh, well, on the latter, I mean, my head is spinning. This is our first year covering it like we are, for you guys at the First and Long College Football Show. But yeah, it's a lot to take in. Close to 2,000 names in the portal right now. And, you try to focus on what's important, and that's how it affects the college football landscape from an FBS perspective, who's moving up, who's moving down. A lot of it, we just kind of have to wait and see. Brock Vandagriff going to Kentucky, I think, is a huge get for Kentucky. You got to remember this. I know you said he was a 4-star. He may have ended up as a very high 4-star, but there was a time where he was a 5-star recruit. When he committed to Georgia, he was a 5-star recruit. And
if you're top 50, talented. You're a bad dude. Right.
Well, I don't think he was a 5-star across the board, but some sites, I believe he finished as a 5-star. I think maybe at Rivals he wasn't, but at 24/7 he was. So, this is a guy with all the tools. He's 6'3", 225. He was power cleaning 340 pounds coming out of high school. I mean, a very strong, well-built coach's son, great athlete overall. And he got stuck on the depth chart. It is what it is. He would have seen the field had Stetson Bennett not been Stetson Bennett and played for 2 seasons. We would have seen Carson Beck in that case, and I'm pretty convinced that Carson Beck would have went with 2 years of experience this year, and we would be watching Brock Vandagriff lead the Georgia Bulldogs next season. That didn't happen, and credit this young man because he said when he committed, I will graduate from the University of Georgia, right? He never started a game, but he graduated from the University of Georgia, then decides to go to Kentucky and honored his commitment. And this day and age, you got to love that, from a character perspective. He's from Athens, so, that's kind of a local school for him. And, he just never really got a chance. But I had an Auburn fan ask me, what were my thoughts? Because he was looking at maybe, Vandagriff going there. And I told him, man, this is a very talented guy who got stuck on the depth chart. And this is one of the cases where the transfer portal wins in my eyes. This is one that you want to see go and play for a couple of years at Kentucky. And gosh, he's going to be pretty tough to handle, especially if they can get some weapons for him in the receiving corps. But with that run game, with his dual threat capabilities, I think he's a perfect fit for what Mark Stoops wants to do at Kentucky.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe I saw Kentucky just picked up a nice receiver. I'm gonna have to try to find that, but I think Brock Vandagriff, it's going to be interesting how Liam Cohen fits him in that offense. This guy, I see a lot of potential with him as a dual threat. I think he can run the football, pretty underdeveloped. I think as far as, game experience, obviously he hasn't played a ton, but I think that this is definitely a guy to look at. But as we kind of look on our screen here, you can kind of see some of the talent that's at the top of the transfer portal right this second. And we're referencing on 3 here. As you just saw, I had Brock Vandagriff pulled up, and they had him as a 5-star, 97 rating from that class of 21. So very, very talented guy, obviously. Got all the measurables that you're going to want. What I really like about On3 here is their NIL valuations for these guys. I think that's pretty interesting stuff there. Everybody likes to see the big numbers on the screen and all, but Walter Nolen goes in at Texas A&M. There's a mass exodus going on at Texas A&M, Mason. Some very, very talented guys are on their way out. I mean, it's pretty wild what's going on. I saw multiple guys. I believe it was from that 21 class that were top 100 guys or top 300 guys, excuse me, are all getting in the portal, and we're seeing a bunch of them from Ohio State also. So pretty interesting stuff there. But as you'll see, we've got a couple of quarterbacks here. Cam Ward at Washington State, he's gotten into the transfer portal. Seems to be something that we're seeing a lot with those teams that are left. Oregon State and Washington State, they're stuck in that Pac-12 situation, whatever the hell that is. They're obviously going to have to merge with another conference, whether it be the Mountain West or something like that. Who knows? But Dante Moore gone from UCLA. A lot of people think that he's rumored to go to Oregon. I think that's something that you need to look out for. Oregon was hot on the trail for this guy. Will Howard, another quarterback that's in there. Dillon, Gabriel. Do you have any outlooks on these quarterbacks and where they're headed? Riley Leonard. A lot has been said about Riley Leonard headed to Notre Dame, but I see here on 3 they don't even have a prediction here, so I'm not so sure how true that is. What's your read on some of these high profile quarterbacks?
Yeah, I'm going to swap this up on you, Mark, and give you a look at what I'm seeing here, just to give you all another perspective from 24/7. So they do have a crystal ball aspect, which is another fun one to look at. Raymond Contrell was the receiver that you were talking about. He's a former Georgia commit. I believe he's out of the state of Florida, if I'm not mistaken. But a very highly touted, top 100 overall player coming out of high school, and transferring out from A&M. It looks like he's a pretty good lock over there to Kentucky. And also Will Rogers, another quarterback, they've got him as 100% to Washington. So that'd be a really fun one to see over there with the Huskies. And another one that I've got on my board is Ohio State and Kyle McCord. I've heard some good leans to Nebraska. I think Miami's a good fit, though. For Kyle McCord, I wouldn't mind seeing him. Obviously, Miami's in the market with TVD going out. And I look at a guy like Dillon Gabriel coming out of Oklahoma, and I wonder if he might be wearing a different O on his helmet and playing for those Ducks over in Oregon. I think that'd be a great fit. Similar quarterback to Bo Nix. So if Dan Lanning and the OC there want to continue with that same style, maybe they go with a guy like Dillon Gabriel. That's kind of what I'm looking at. And I think it's just kind of fun to play matchmaker with some of these, isn't it? Riley Leonard to Notre Dame, that just seems fitting for some reason. I think they've got him as 100% going to Notre Dame, which a lot of these, folks, if it's 100%, that probably means 1 or 2 people have voted yet. So let's not, put too much credit behind the percentages yet. But Riley Leonard is one who he's got a do not contact listed by his name, one of the few. And basically what that means is he does not want to be contacted by schools. He will contact the school and let them know that he's interested in them. So a little bit of a flip of the script there. But Riley Leonard knows that he's very sought after, and just about any school would take him. So I think that it's perfectly fine for him to say that. And Notre Dame's kind of the first one on the list at this point for him. I think Will Howard is another great quarterback. I don't really have a lean at all on Will Howard as far as where he might go. It's tough to think about, maybe like a Wisconsin would be a pretty good fit for him. I don't know if Luke Fickell is even dabbling in the quarterback transfers right now, but that's a fun one to play matchmaker with. LT Overton out of Texas A&M, big defensive line, former 5-star recruit. He's about 6'6" and 260, I believe. He's going to play on the end. Very big recruit there. And this was a guy who was the number 1 overall player in 2020 2024, I believe, or 2023, and he reclassed to 2022, and I believe that's right. So he still has 2 years of eligibility, but he was the number one overall player, in his class, and then reclassed down to go play with his older brother at Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, man, they it's really incredible the amount of players that they've got going out. I mean,
I think last I saw it was 13.
yeah, well,
That was yesterday. So
and listen to this. I mean, defensive tackle Walter Nolen, we've mentioned him. He was number one in the 2022 class. Defensive lineman, like you just talked about, LT Overton, he was number 6 in the 22 class. Tight end Jake Johnson was number 106 in 2022. And then offensive lineman Chase, I know I've seen him, Bissanatis or something like that. He was the number 61 player in 23. All these guys have entered the transfer portal, and these are all ESPN top 300 players. Texas A&M has got a mass exodus, and furthermore, so does Ohio State. I've seen 3 backup Ohio State cornerbacks go out. Anytime you've got 3 players at the same position going out, and it's part of your depth, that your second string guys, that's something to raise your eyebrow at. That's a big deal. Running back Chip Trainum decided to go into the transfer portal about 2 hours ago. This is a guy who played a decent amount. I mean, he had 375 yards this year and 3 touchdowns because he was playing on behalf of injured running backs for Ohio State. So I think it's really interesting what's going on specifically at Ohio State and Texas A&M. Is the new ball coach at A&M going to be able to get in there in time? To wow some of these guys and get them back, or does he want them gone? Is Ohio State, I mean, the Kyle McCord is gone as well. Are they telling them to leave? It seems like some of these they're probably telling to get out of the program. You're not playing. So it's really interesting to see how these coaches, I feel like, have kind of leaned into this system now, where it's like, you know what, let out with the old and in with the new. It does kind of seem that way, right?
Yeah. It's so interesting, man, because you never know with the transfer portal who's going to go out. And so how does that back up recruiting? I know we're going to get into some recruiting news here soon, but recruits are decommitting now because players are deciding to stay that they thought would go, and with this extra COVID year, it's backing things up, man. And it has a trickle down effect. But you're completely right. I think that a lot of coaches are smarter about it now, specifically at quarterback. But you're seeing coaches kind of seemingly, at least, like I think that we can infer that with Kyle McCord, this happened, where coaches are telling guys like, "Hey, we're going to go with the young guy." That's what happened with Dillon Gabriel. That's what happened with Will Howard. I think it's pretty safe to say that coaches are getting smart about this and saying, look, we got this guy in for a reason. Let's see what the young talent can do. It's kind of their time. So, and what kind of effect does that have on the transfer portal market? It's been fascinating to watch. A new one though that I hadn't seen yet, but Aiden Chiles is another one coming out of Oregon State that entered yesterday, I guess, and looks like he's a lean for Michigan State. So maybe Jonathan Smith is carrying some luggage with him to Michigan State in this one, and maybe they've already found their guy. Another one, Dante Moore, is someone who I think if McCarthy ends up leaving, I think that you'll see Dante Moore go to Michigan. He's from Detroit, and I think that's a pretty good little matchup there for them. And Cam Ward is another one that I think he's kind of the biggest quarterback on the market for whatever reason, and he said that he wants to stay on the West Coast, but I think that Florida State makes some sense, but also Ohio State if they don't have full belief in Derek Brown, maybe Ohio State takes a stab at him or Miami. I could see him coming to the East Coast if Oregon's not able to take a swing on him. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
So Tyler Shook has committed to Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Vandagriff has committed to Kentucky, and Brendan Sorsby has committed to Cincinnati. So that's taken up 3 of your spots right there. Reportedly, Louisville had been interested in DJU. But Shook, I guess, kind of took that spot. And it's, from what I'm understanding, Florida State and Mississippi State are a couple of likely destinations for DJU. So that's something kind of to take a look at. Dillon Gabriel, they're saying, has been linked to Oregon, but has not yet made a commitment. Cameron Ward has been interested in several big programs, including Ohio State, Miami, and Florida State, among a few others. So we have to kind of wait and see where this thing's going, folks. I mean, we don't know where all these guys are going at this point. We know a few guys. I see Will Rogers right there, as you see on your screen. Looks like he's headed to Washington there. Interesting spot for a guy coming out of Star Vegas to go all the way across the country to play football. But you know, I thought it was interesting, Mason, why Dillon Gabriel wasn't more interested in Mississippi State after his offensive coordinator goes over there. They had such a great year together. Why is Dillon Gabriel not interested in Mississippi State is something that I've wondered. I don't, fully understand what the thought process is on that one. But I mean, that is, these guys got so many options these days. It's really incredible. Thank you all so much for tuning in.